we should encourage, and I do my best. I don't always succeed to encourage my children to take up their cares and worries to God. I mean, they can ask the friends and they can ask mom and dad, but ultimately it comes back to just opening up those cares and those worries, those anxieties to the Lord. And that's something I can tell you, not only as a parent, but as an adult, it saved me. Welcome back to another episode of the Brave Today podcast. The show is going to encourage, challenge, maybe even provoke you to step outside of your comfort zone and take more action to better improve yourself and your health. I'm your host, Mark Avens, and in this crazy upside down world that keeps pushing a narrative for good people like you and me to become softer and weaker and sicker and unhealthier and more dependent than ever, the goal and intent of this show is to help you navigate through it so that you can become not only braver today, but braver today than you were yesterday. Now, I have inside of this show, there's a couple different types of shows that we do. We have Brave guest interviews where I basically interview people that I look up to, friends, colleagues, clients, people who are not only showing bravery, being very courageous, but they're also helping other people to do the same. And I think that's admirable. And that's why we do those interviews. Also, we do Brave Q&A where I answer questions you have regarding health, fitness, weight loss. Those are my things of expertise. I don't have all the answers, but in 3 decades of pursuing this as a professional career and helping men and women like you potentially get off the weight loss journey, get into a better place physically, mentally, spiritually, and just in overall health. If you want to ask me a question, the best way to do that is to just post in the comments your question. You can send me a private message or you can send an email, info at avensfitness.com. Also, we have a show called Flavor of the Day. I'll be discussing latest news on health and fitness, picking apart latest diet trends, workouts, pills, potions, et cetera, and be breaking them down and giving you my honest opinion on those. And then lastly, which is what we're going to be doing today, is a little bit of a different type of episodes called The Breakthrough. And a breakthrough is just going into a deeper dive in an area, be it physical, mental, emotional, spiritual, in an area that's holding you back and providing some insight and guidance to help you break through your personal health and fitness journey. Now, I know one of the things as we get into this that makes it hard to have a breakthrough in your health and fitness journey. And this episode is going to be more geared towards parenting and parents. Now, I'm not a parenting expert, but I am a parent and I have a 20-year-old and 18-year-old. And I would say in my personal experience and being around a lot of other parents over the last 20 plus years, I've have a little bit of legwork done. I've done some in the trenches behind the scenes work on my own parenting skills. I wanted to share that with you because I do believe one of the challenges I see often is people get caught up in being a parent that they forget to be themselves. They forget to know what it feels like to be healthy and fit and to pursue dreams and goals. And I want to have a breakthrough episode with you about parenting and really where to find the courage, because at the end of the day, it does take a lot of courage to be a parent and also to help raise courageous kids, brave kids. So we're going to talk about what it takes to be a courageous parent and help raise those courageous kids. And that's part of the episode. I want to ensure to you today that it's going to be a fun one. It's going to be excited. And let's just jump right in. All right. So the Brave Today podcast about what it means to be brave. And I defined this in the very first episode, really 5 things as far as being brave. It means believing in yourself, respecting yourself, accepting yourself, valuing yourself, and then equipping yourself. And those 5 components. Now, there's a lot more that goes into it, but to break it down, and it made it great for the word brave in having that belief and believing in yourself. Now, think about this in your journey. I would imagine you want your kids to be in a similar place. You want your kids to believe in themselves. You want your kids to respect themselves. You want your kids to accept themselves, to value themselves, and to equip themselves, right? I don't know any parent out there who wouldn't. So I was just thinking as my wife and I yesterday, and both my kids at the same time were in the air. They were on airplanes and they were headed in totally different directions. Our 18-year-old was headed to Hawaii, back to Hawaii. She spent 3 months before the end of the year in Hawaii. She had a great experience there and she loved it so much. Who wouldn't? She went back for 2 more months. and she has an experience out there now. And she was flying, and then my son also got invited to go on a really a dream surf trip to Nicaragua. And if you know, before we moved to the mountains, we were a beach family, surf family, and we've gone on some trips before Costa Rica, so forth. But anyway, at this time, both of our kids are flying in different directions, and my wife and I were just talking about just how courageous our kids are. And this is not a show to brag on my kids, more to just help you and maybe even help myself walk through what it takes to be brave in this world today, and to have the courage to help your kids. It's not only it's one thing to have actually courage to go through this crazy messed up world we're living in, but also to try to instill some good values and courage to our kids who maybe, at their age and developing things and thinking like a 20 and an 18-year-old, it's very different now. They've come a long way. And I know if you've have kids anywhere near my age, kids, it's different than the dependency that they had when they were younger, where pretty much everything, you got to feed them, you got to clothe them, you got to do their laundry, you got to make sure they get to school, all those good things that we got to experience. But now it's a little bit different. They're young adults and they're making decisions. And one of the things that I think about is not so much how crazy this world is for our kids, but how important it is for them to be courageous. And in kind of the conversation I had with myself and wanting to share this, I think it's going to be twofold. Helpful if you are a parent, maybe you have some younger kids, maybe they're in their adolescence, they're, 8, 10, 12 years old, maybe they're not quite teenagers yet, or maybe they're not kind of outside of the roost. And ours are in that position and making their moves towards doing that. And we faced a lot of, over the years, I should say, just the way Nicole and I parent, which is definitely not the norm. Good or bad or indifferent. It's just the way we parent. And despite getting all the advice we get from other people in our lives, and whether it be family members or friends, colleagues, so forth, there's one way you're going to parent your kids. And I think we could come to a understanding that I don't know any good parent out there that wouldn't want their kids to be courageous, to be brave. I think it's actually a requirement for kids these days. And I think it's going to help them get very far. So how do you go about doing it? Well, you've probably heard this. Kids are going to not listen to what you say. They're going to see what you do. And chances are they're going to pick up things from what they see mom and dad doing rather than what you tell them they should be doing. And I don't know about you, but I grew up in a relatively strict home. And I remember going against the grain and having rules, and we had discipline. And yes, I was actually a byproduct of a kid who did get spanked for making some poor decisions. And I will say I'm pretty grateful because I look back on some of those poor decisions I made in my youth. And I know the discipline was there for me for a reason, so that I could learn, but also to build not just integrity and trust, but also to be courageous. And one of the things that I think that my wife and I have modeled quite well for our own two kids, and again, this is just in our parenting skills, is to model being brave. Doesn't mean always making the right decisions. In fact, actually, a lot of times it's being brave despite the circumstances. And we've had number of circumstances and situations throughout the course of our life while raising kids that were really hard, like just life stuff. Like you go through difficulties in business and relationships and family. And it's just to get through it, to endure, to persevere through those moments. I think it's something that your kids are going to be watching you. And I can have open conversation with now an 18 and 20-year-old to know not only that I encourage them to be brave and be strong and courageous, but also where does that come from? And I have to be honest with you, before I used to, pre-Jesus, I would say, and I didn't really come to know my faith until I was in like my mid 30s. And that was when our kids were younger, real young. And I'm not here to get into that story, but I want to actually just share with you one of the things that I think I'll go to the grave with is where I found my own courage from. And I wish I could tell you it was in lifting weights and being fit and strong and, having fitness goals and that sort of thing, and just brute physical strength. It actually is more on a spiritual level. And that's what we want to talk about today. And I've come across some verses in scripture that have really helped me. I have one that's actually tattooed on my arm. to help remind me about being strong and courageous. And I do hope one of my goals, I would say the visions that I have for a preferred future is that my family become brave and strong and courageous, no matter how dark the world gets, no matter how many things that they have to go through to endure that are challenging them, maybe the resistance, if you will, the evil that's out there, which is there and it's real. And it doesn't mean it's going to just go away because you're strong and courageous. In fact, it just means that you're able to get through those things. And one of the first verses that comes up, if I can share with you, and if you have a verse that you'd like to share that you think in scripture, because I do believe the Bible really displays courage, and it being something that is my favorite book in the world. I've gone back to it a number of times when I felt maybe felt scared. And I think when I actually equip myself more in scripture and what the word says, it really helps me become the kind of courageous father that I believe that I need to be for my own kids. And I hope that it is rubbing off on them. So let's go. The first one about courage. This one is in Proverbs. Love Proverbs. It's a great thing to do through like the month because there's 30 or 31 Proverbs. Again, I'm not a Bible scholar and I won't claim to be, but I do know I've gone through it a number of times. And you can do one proverb each day, which is great. There's a lot of meat in there, really good. But this one is the Proverbs 3, 5, verses 5 and 6. And this is, if you want to know the translation, there's lots of different ones. I'm reading from the NIV. Trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean not on your own understanding. In all your ways, submit to him, and he will make your paths straight. How good is that? Think about the path that you've been on, and think about the times where you didn't understand things, and think about if you are able to, and you have that relationship. So if you're a man or woman of faith and you're listening right now, is to have that trust. Now, it's not the trust in yourself, it's to trust in the Lord. And that's with everything you got, everything you're made of in your heart. And when you trust in the Lord, what's really, I think, a relief to me at least is that I don't have to rely on my understanding because oftentimes I don't understand. And I think that's been one of the most gratifying things to me in my faith journey is knowing that I don't have to understand. He does. And I can trust in him to keep me on the path, on the straight path that he has for my life, provided that I just give him the opportunity. And it's, the phrase of being in the car seat and you're in the driver's seat or the passenger seat. And, so many times in our lives, we try to be in our own driver's seat. And I know for a fact, I don't always drive on the right road. But I do know when I tend to give him the steering wheel and he guides my steps and he guides my path, that he tends to never lead me the wrong way. It's not always the easiest way. But as long as I can trust in him and I have full trust and faith in him, that he won't gear you and send you down the wrong path. So that's one of the first ones. And I think, for what it's worth in a parenting, you've been where your kids are. I've been 18, I've been 20, right? I've been when my kids were little, I've been 5 and 6 and 7. And I think having those experiences, being a kid at one point, really, really helpful. And then also grateful that I have parents. I know maybe for you didn't have the kind of upbringing I did. Maybe you didn't have discipline. Maybe you didn't have the role model parents. And I'm not saying my parents are perfect either, but I do learn a lot of lessons I've learned from my family, my own upbringing, and the way that I would love and desire for my own kids to go about through their life, really being strong and courageous. I think it's really, really important on so many levels. So that's the first one. Let's get into the next one. So this one is in Psalm 22:19. And this is, but you, Lord, do not be far from me. You are my strength. Come quickly to help me. You are my strength. Come quickly to help me. What a great verse. Psalm 22:19. It's a verse, one of those verses about bravery that just is a reminder that you can rely on God and you can get your strength from him. And no matter how crazy and messed up this world is, if you think nobody's stronger than he is. And I think that's a comfort for me as a parent when I don't get to control, the direction my kids go in, maybe to encourage and offer guidance. And if they ask, to provide that at 18 and 20. But one of the things that I just think about is, where do I get my strength from? And that's from the Lord. I think, the power to persist, to move forward in days that don't go well, or months, or years, or challenges and circumstances, is to realize that you don't have to have the strength either. Because if you believe in God, He will become your strength and He will help you, which is great. This is such a good verse. Let's go into next one. This one has helped me tremendously. This one helped me in time, really dark time in my life. Gosh, I come back to think about it, and I can't say that there's probably a single verse that I've prayed more on over the years and through ups and downs and trials of life. One I remember being where my mom had some mental health issues, and we were really struggling as a family for a big season, a long season. It's a couple of years. And I remember, I don't know where it came up. I honestly can't tell you if it came up in maybe a church service, or somebody shared it with me. Maybe I was just opening up the Bible and just kind of, you ever just flip through and something opens up and you read it and it starts reading you. This one is 1 Peter 5:7, and that's, cast all your anxiety on Him because He cares for you. You can cast all your anxiety, you can cast all of your worries over to Him, simply because He cares for you. And what an assurance that is, isn't it? I think, anxiety, stress. Now, I went through my teenage years and early 20s in a different season and in a different kind of era than my kids are going through now. And so I can imagine, with technology, and we didn't have phones and computers and instant access to everything. Not to say it's here. Technology is here whether we like it or not. And one of the things that it can cause is a lot of stress, a lot of anxiety, right? A lot of stuff you have access to, your eyes have access to. And I know it's definitely a challenge for my kids. I don't know any families out there that have kids or teenagers or young adults that it doesn't become stressful. But one of the things that I love in this verse, 1 Peter 5:7, is that you can cast all of that on Him. And it's simply because He cares for you. Talk about courage for our children. When things come, difficult times come, you can have your kids learn bravery and courage by simply turning to God. We should encourage, and I do my best, I don't always succeed, to encourage my children to take up their cares and worries to God. I mean, they can ask the friends and they can ask mom and dad, but ultimately it comes back to just opening up those cares and those worries, those anxieties to the Lord. And that's something I can tell you, not only as a parent, but as an adult, it saved me. Being able to believe that there is a loving Father out there who simply will take on, no matter how heavy your anxiety or burden or stress or worries are, He's there for you. He's the one person that won't ever let you down. All right, let's move forward. I have a couple more. This one I have to say is near and dear to my heart. And this one is Joshua 1:9. And I'll just read it first. Have I not commanded you? Be strong and courageous. Do not be afraid. Do not be discouraged, for the Lord your God will be with you wherever you go. Another one, again, just to be able to remind yourself that it's to turn to the Lord with any and all issues that you have. I love this verse so much, and I think it was the last couple of years. I love that it's a command. It's not about, hey, I think you should be strong and maybe be courageous. It's God commanding you to be strong and courageous and to not be afraid and not be discouraged. And what I love about it is, no matter where you go, the Lord will be with you to encourage and to help you be strong and courageous. And I love that Joshua 1:9 is right here on my arm. It's tattooed, and it is a reminder. I probably sometimes feel like I need it somewhere I can look at. It's kind of hard to see there, but it is a command. I love that. And I think it's important for our kids to know that it isn't something that He just wants for you. He's commanding us to be strong and courageous. So what better way for your kids to know that your strength and courage is a command from God? And when you have that, doesn't mean that there isn't going to be some things to be fearful of, but you can always come back to help you not be discouraged and to know that he will be with you no matter where you go. And I always think about that as no matter what you do or what you say, he will be there with you, no matter what, which is awesome. Awesome. And then this one, we'll go here. This one is another really, really good one. John 14:27. Peace I leave with you, my peace I give you. I do not give to you as the world gives. Do not let your hearts be troubled and do not be afraid. I love this one because what it says to me just by reading it now, and I've read this one before many times, is he doesn't give to us as the world gives. So if you think of what does the world give us, he doesn't give us that. He doesn't give us what the world gives us. And there's a perfect peace. And I can say in my own faith journey, I hope that my kids have taken on, at least they've seen that, is that no matter what's going on in our lives, there is a peace that really just surpasses anything that I've ever experienced before. And that's not because I have it all together or I have the answers or I figured it out or my life is perfect. That's actually the peace is there in all circumstances, all situations. And it does help having that peace and that assurance. It helps when your hearts get troubled, because my heart, I wish I could say, doesn't get troubled, and it does. And I can definitely tell you that I don't not experience fear. I've had moments of fear, anxiety, worry, stress, like is the world ending, that kind of stuff. But there is this assurance, this peace that's given to you. And really the best part about it is there's nothing I did to deserve it, nothing I can do to earn it. It was a free gift. And that gift is just, I can tell you, is the best gift I've ever received. And he wants this relationship. And I think what's beautiful about the peace comes in having that relationship, the God that loves us, and he wants a relationship with you and with me and with my kids and with your kids. And it's not just about belief in God, but it's also about developing a relationship with him. And I can tell you over the last, since, the mid late 30s, I should say, now I'm into, so let's say 12, 15 years of walking with the Lord. I can tell you that there is this peace. And the more I tend to invest and be intentional with my time with him, the more this peace. And I think what better timing for sure, because it seems like the world just getting crazier and darker and sicker and just twisted and more upside down. But at the end of the day, when I let my head down on my pillow and go to sleep, I can think of the peace that is just overcome. And that's with this understanding that God's there for me and that he wants good things for me, but he wants to give us what the world can't give us. And that's a reason enough not to be troubled. John 14:27. And I think I got one. Let's do one more. Yeah, this one goes into peace. I have a number of them, but I wanted to just go over. Actually, this one, I think we'll finish with this one. So this one is Psalm 18, verse 2. The Lord is my rock, my fortress, and my deliverer. My God is my rock, in whom I take refuge, my shield and the horn of my salvation, my stronghold. So I'll read that again. It's a good one. The Lord is my rock, my fortress, and my deliverer. My God, just reading, doesn't it just makes you want to be more courageous, more brave? When, like, if you were like, I'm my rock and I'm my fortress and I'm my deliverer and I'm my rock and I take refuge in myself and my shield and horn, my salvation and my stronghold is all determined and dependent on me. Like that doesn't, for me, it doesn't make me feel very safe. The Lord is my rock. Like if the Lord's your rock, who can break that up? Nobody. My fortress and my deliverer, my God is my rock in whom I take refuge. Like, gosh, I don't know about you, but I just got a sense of being strong and courageous. The world offers so many different types of like temporary fixes, but there's a permanent fix. And this courage that's offered to focus more on the permanent fix. And that's having that relationship with Jesus. As parents, I think about Bible verses like this one, and bravery, encourage our kids to make God their rock, right? To not make celebrities and to not make, people they know or their friends or relationships, their rock. Gosh, in a world now too, where just you see, between Hollywood and celebrityism and it's just, they're going to all let you down. And I am grateful that we've been able to teach our kids to not have those idols, if you will, honestly, to put God at the center of all things. And I wish I could tell you it's perfect. It's not. It's a work in progress, right? What's that called? Progressive sanctification. Ooh, I use big words, but ultimately just developing that relationship over time. And it's basically, instead of you becoming your own rock, is allowing the Lord to protect you, to deliver you, to be a place that you can seek refuge in. And man, there's nothing that to me is more powerful, more strong, more courageous than just having that on your side. You think of just going through today, the rest of today, and knowing you can have the Lord as your rock, who can be against you if he's for you, and if he's with you, and if he's there to protect you. Doesn't mean you shouldn't do your best to still be a part of this world, and I say be a part of it in a sense, to live in it, because you're human and you probably need to, and have a job and work and raise your kids and all those types of things. But man, if you can go through it and thinking that you have this rock, you have this fortress, you have this place that you can take refuge in, it makes you think about how much more courage and bravery that you really have when you have the Lord by your side. And that's something, as a parent, if you have that, you don't think your kids are going to notice that. You don't think they're going to see. You don't think when they're looking at other parents that maybe don't have faith, that are, just kind of going through life, or maybe struggling or having relationship problems, or they are treating their kids a certain way, and you're pursuing the Lord and you're treating your kids a way that the Lord wants you to, and you have that courage and that bravery. Again, it's not comparing parenting skills here by no means, because there's lots of good parents out there that don't know the Lord. But I can tell you, when it comes to raising kids and finding the courage to help you raise brave kids, there's nothing to me more valuable than having God on your side. It does say take a village, right? And whether you are a single parent or you're married, and my wife and I have been married for almost 22 years. And in those 22 years, I can tell you that hasn't been easy, but I can tell you it's been much better and much more valuable, knowing that we have the Lord on our side, and that he is our rock and our firm foundation. And it's not necessarily what we can do to just kind of pull up our bootstraps and become better parents and not argue and all that stuff. It's actually taking it up and having Christ at the center of all things in our decisions, in the way we love each other, in the way we talk to each other, in the way we are intentional with our time. So anyway, that's all I have for today. And again, if you, by no means was this trying to talk down to parents at all, more to be of an encouragement in this time that we're living in, because I do know that this world can easily swallow not only you up, but your kids. And I think it's really valuable that we encourage ourselves to be courageous, to be strong, to have the skills to be able to withstand the enemy. And gosh, if the enemy's getting to you, he's getting to your kids. So I want to encourage you to be brave, to believe in yourself more, to respect yourself more, to accept yourself more, to value yourself more, and to equip. And I hope this show was part of the equipping. I hope it not only equips you, but also helps in your pursuit to developing some of the bravest kids. We need more brave kids in this world. The next generation and generations to come, we need more brave young adults, ones that are courageous to step up and to really be the change that we see in this world. So anyway, I hope this helped. And listen, if you did like this episode, just encourage you to share it. And if you haven't subscribed, subscribe as well. We don't do any advertising on the show, so I can say what I want. So if you found this episode, or if you found other episodes valuable, all I ask is just share it. If you're watching this on YouTube, thank you. Hit a little like, hit a little comment. You're catching us on a podcast or on Spotify, leave your comments there. I do read those, appreciate them, and appreciate you. I hope this episode helped you become braver today than you were yesterday. Take care. God bless.